Have you ever seen such a stunning woman on the stock market floor? She looks like she walked straight out of a movie or a K-drama. If you stick around till the end of this video, you'll find out exactly why women like her have been showing up in the stock market. In 2025, Wall Street analysts came face to face with a shocking discovery they never saw coming. Global financial data revealed something jaw-dropping. Koreans hold more TQQQ than Americans do. How on earth is that even possible? And what's the real reason behind it? The official explanation goes like this. Korean retail investors, known as Sohak Gaimi, or Western stock ants, have been aggressively diving into overseas investments. Bloomberg and the Indian financial outlet Mint officially called Korean retail investors the most active participants in the global leveraged ETF market. And the numbers back it up. Korean investors hold roughly $15.6 billion worth of US-listed leveraged ETFs. That's about 21 trillion Korean won. On the surface, that seems reasonable. Korean overseas stock purchases have been hitting all-time highs, and it looks like that money has been flowing straight into leveraged ETFs. And to some extent, that's true. It's perfectly natural for Korean investors to take an interest in US markets, and there's no denying that products like TQQQ have delivered some eye-popping returns. But here's the thing. One question still doesn't have an answer. Why are Korean investors buying these products more heavily and more passionately than Americans themselves? Follow that question, and hidden clues start to surface. The first clue is found in a wall of regulations. A researcher analyzing financial data stumbled upon something surprising while reviewing Korea's domestic financial market rules. In Korea's domestic market, triple leveraged products are flat out illegal. This isn't just a minor regulation. It created a structural pipeline that funneled investors who wanted high-risk exposure straight into the US market. So why did so many Koreans choose that pipeline, even knowing the risks? That clue leads us to the second one. The second clue is about real estate and capital. Faced with sky-high property prices and relatively limited starting capital, the desire to grow wealth quickly exploded among Korean investors. The fact that SOXL surged over 2,000% after COVID in 2020 poured gasoline on that fire. So, let's recap what we've uncovered so far. Triple leverage is banned domestically, and that's colliding with an intense hunger for explosive returns. But we still haven't answered the key question. Why specifically more than Americans, and with such concentrated positions? Then in 2025, global ETF holdings data revealed something decisive. Korean investors' holdings of TQQQ grew by 157% over the past 5 years, and SOXL skyrocketed by 603%. As of August 2025, 28.7% of Korean retail investors' overseas ETF holdings were in leveraged or inverse products, far above the global average. And here's the truth. Koreans hold more TQQQ not simply because of investment preference. It's the inevitable result of a structural gap colliding with human desire. First, triple leverage was blocked domestically. That pushed investors toward the US market. And, as a result, Koreans have emerged as the single largest foreign force in the US leveraged ETF market. But here's what's even more shocking. This isn't just an investment craze. About 300,000 people completed the mandatory leveraged ETF education requirement in just January and February of this year alone, already exceeding last year's full-year total of 200,000. Remember the word Sohak Gaimi casually mentioned at the start? It was hinting at exactly this massive structural shift all along. On Reddit, Americans are literally begging them, please don't sell. Korean investors have already become a force powerful enough to move prices in the US leveraged ETF market. This is no longer just a story about individual investing. This is what it really means. But there are still unanswered questions. How long will this craze last? And when a sharp market downturn hits, what choices will these investors make? Nobody knows yet. Bloomberg has warned that policies are needed to help retail investors understand the fundamentals of investing. And this whole mystery teaches us one lesson. When the rules of the market block one exit, human desire will always find another way out. That was the truth behind the Korean TQQQ mystery. Which clue do you think was the most decisive? The wall of regulations or the temptation of explosive returns? Now let's go back to where we started. That glamorous woman who appeared in the stock market? She wasn't American. She was Korean. The same Koreans you've seen leading the wave of K-culture, K-dramas, movies, and K-pop. The world moves fast. Just by subscribing and turning on notifications, you can read the trends before everyone else. Save your time with our channel.